No, she didn't know who Stanley Kubrick was. We broke up. Do you like the 180-degree shutter rule? These glasses are made out of Peter McKinnon filters. What do you think? Then don't buy a Panasonic G5. Who the f are you? No one knows. What's up, everybody? It's me, Steve, and on today's show, we're taking a look at the Panasonic G5. Panasonic G5 came out back in 2012. It was the follow-up to the G3 and the predecessor to the Panasonic G7 and G9, which are in popular use nowadays. Now, at the time I got mine back in 2014, it cost around $500. Nowadays, you can find it used on eBay for as low as $125. With a price that low, how does the Panasonic G5 fare in 2020? The setup I've got today is Panasonic G5 with the currently filming on the Panasonic Leica 25mm f1.4. I've also got the Panasonic 14mm f2.5. Got the Olympus 45mm f1.8. I've actually filmed 3 different videos on these lenses in the past, so if you want to check those out, I'll put those in the cards at the end of the video. You know, I'll say that about Micro Four Thirds. Definitely have a ton of lens options. I mean, you've got everything that Panasonic makes, everything that Olympus makes, and everything that Sigma makes for Micro Four Thirds. That's a lot of options. You know, being a mid-range camera from 2012, it doesn't have like the tons of features that you would see like on a modern GH5. Like if you're used to looking at that menu system, there's a lot less to look at in this one. It does give you AVC HD 1080p 60 frames per second, 60 interlace, which is just like a smaller file format, 30 frames per second, and then there is like 720p also at 60 frames per second. It's usable. You know, and don't forget, it's a decent stills camera too. We used to take this with us all the time back in the old days. You know, it's so small and lightweight, it's easy to carry around. Plus, people don't really like pay attention to it the way they would with like a full-size DSLR. Oh my god, literally like the second I hit record, like the car starts and then like the plane flies overhead. And then like there's like the dudes playing basketball over there. You know, overall, the G5's a great camera. You know, it's got great image quality. It's got great stills. It's got good dynamic range. It's sort of like bare bones necessity. It's everything that you need to kind of get by with a good image. Now on to the downsides of the G5, and there are kind of a few. First of all, no mic input. This was back in a time when Panasonic was kind of protecting the GH lines. They weren't putting a lot of their more professional video features into these mid-range cameras. Second thing, the autofocus is not great. It's fine on a wide-angle lens like this, but when you're trying to film anything at like 45mm or more, just good luck. It does not focus. Like when I filmed that bit at the opening of the video, it took so many tries just to get it to actually focus on me from a distance. Like, it doesn't seem to understand that there's actually a person there. But now, on to the biggest downside of the G5. Like all cameras, the G5 has program mode, shutter priority, aperture priority, manual mode. And all of those only work in stills mode. Video mode, the second you hit record on this camera, is 100% automatic. You have no control over your settings whatsoever. And that was why I made that joke at the beginning of the video, that you cannot control the settings on this camera in video mode. I mean, there's little like cheats and workarounds. You know, you can kind of like set the exposure compensation a little bit brighter or a little bit darker. You can use an ND filter to try and like slow the shutter speed, but you have no control over the actual shutter speed. You know, you have no control over the actual aperture, and you have no control over the ISO whatsoever. You know, and that's the thing. I think not having control over video mode is going to be a deal breaker for the majority of people. You know, it's frustrating to have such a capable camera being ruined by one small detail like that. Just look at how many times throughout this video where like the exposure just sort of starts to change on its own. Look at how many times like the white balance just starts to go really orange, really yellow, or just starts to fade back in the other direction. You have no control over that, and that is absolutely insane. You know, ultimately, I think the G5 is a great camera for a casual user. You just want that sort of easy pick it up, hit record, start filming, start talking, all that, then yeah, the G5 is absolutely great for that. You know, you're gonna get good image quality, you're gonna get good stills out of it. But for anyone who is actually serious about filmmaking, or even just serious about like, you know, YouTube content creation, you're going to be frustrated. You're going to be incredibly frustrated with this camera, and even at $125, I don't know if that's going to be enough. Anyway, I think that's all I've got for today, guys. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again next time.